Hi, my name is Samantha Turner, and my project is called User Acceptance Testing, Understanding Dashboard Criteria and Test Cases for End Users. For my project, I wanted to conduct user acceptance testing on how programs are incorporated into businesses, but in order to do this, I had to create a dashboard to which I would test user acceptance testing on end users. After I created the dashboard, the end users I used were two different business people. One was from the management side of business, and the other was from organizing data side of business. And I assessed this user acceptance testing, or UAT for short, on the basis on what were their focus areas, what were their test cases that they used in their business, as well as what defects they saw when using different programs. And here is an example of the dashboard that I tested upon my interviewees. And I asked them different questions like, was the data you saw visually acceptable? Or were there different things about the data that confused you? Was the questions that you would possibly ask to focus on in your business, were they addressed in this dashboard, or are there certain things that you did not see? And I got great reviews on the revenue side of the data analysis. But what I did not get good reviews on was the fact that I didn't address cost or outgoing expenditures in anywhere of my data analysis. So this was very problematic for these two users because for their area of business, they want to look at revenue, but the manager wanted to look at more cost, whereas the employee, it didn't matter. They kind of needed both, but it wasn't the end of the world. So these are two examples. On the left is a good scenario that my interviewees gave of visualization of the analysis of data, and on the right is an example of what the interviewees did not like about the data. On the left, you get a good visual context of the data. You get two pivot charts as well as two pivot tables that analyze who is making the most revenue for both their products as well as their countries. Whereas on the right, it was confusing for both the interviewees because there was too much going on in this worksheet. There was 3 different charts which they were unable to put together, but instead getting too much at one time. And some of my favorite things about this whole process, other than interviewing my interviewees, was the fact that I was able to create this whole dashboard. I was able to, on your left, create a pivot chart where I could analyze every different years. I could also analyze different months of exactly what units were sold and how much revenue was made. On the right, what was not one of my favorite things to do was just how tedious some of the data was to create different charts. So what I pretty much got out of this whole test was that not everyone is going to have the same type criteria or the same test cases, which makes programs so different. But if we could find a way to incorporate commonalities of different business people or even different fields, then there's a possibility that we can be more cost efficient as well as focus on areas and scenarios that different professions require an analysis for their organizations.